But he got a flag down.
Oofside.
Everyone but the center. Offense.
You're listening to Oofsides on Track and Turf Media.
Talk about playoffs?
But they are who we thought they were.
Who's gonna win it all?
Football.
And who is Dunyan Rings?
You play to win the game.
Live from the Dieter Brock studio.
Don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug.
Here's the crew that's bringing it all to you.
Welcome to Oofsides. Week 17 is in the books, and we're back to talk about it. I'm your host, Matthew Steelman, here with Dewey as always. Steven off for this week. How you doing?
The pain is almost over.
Isn't that the truth? Oh, you there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you cut out. Good to have some technical issues immediately off the bat. That's always a good sign.
Of course.
So, I do love how normally when we go into the final week of the season, there's all of these playoff clinching scenarios, and I think we are down to, two.
Just about.
Pretty much every single spot is clinched. Yeah, actually, looking at it now, there's one spot available in each conference, and even there's only 3 teams outside of that aren't eliminated. So, week 17 saw a lot of playoff hopes and dreams die. For some, mercilessly. For a lot of others, unceremoniously. Yeah, it was an interesting week of football.
There were definitely some unceremonious exits.
Yeah. I guess we'll just jump right into it. Not necessarily an unceremonious exit, but they're definitely tiptoeing up to it as the Steelers played host to the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas.
The NFL gods saw the Steelers on pace to finish better than 10-7 and said, "Wait, we must fix this immediately and get them back to where they should be." Another disappointing loss for the black and yellow leads to a feat not accomplished by them since the days of Chuck Noll, while the two-time defending champion Chiefs earn themselves the number 1 seed and the opportunity to rest their starters in the season's final week. Despite skepticism throughout the whole year and watching them eke out wins in truly unbelievable fashion, Kansas City cranked out perhaps its most impressive win on the year right before playoff time, and that should scare the shit out of everybody else. Chiefs 29, Steelers 10.
Eat Arby's.
Eat Arby's.
Yeah, is it not just perfectly poetic that like the Chiefs have looked like butt-ass shit on offense all year, and then literally right before the playoffs start, Pat Mahomes throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it's like, God damn it.
On what's been arguably like the second best defense all season.
Yeah.
As only they do.
Yeah. Hey, there really is like an inevitability to the Chiefs. And I can't remember.
Christmas.
I can't remember who was saying it, but they were like, just start accepting now that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, and it'll hurt less when it happens. And like it's kind of the same mindset I'm having to like take into this upcoming Supercross season, because I'm like, I know Jet Lawrence is going to dominate everything. I keep lying to myself that it's not going to happen. And that's how I feel about this. Because This was not pretty for the Steelers to begin with.
No.
I guess we'll just jump right into that. Like I was saying, it annoys the shit out of me how they vindicated that terrible take by Dan Orlovsky immedially after they beat the Ravens, where he said they can't beat teams like the Ravens. And now they've lost 3 in a row, and none of them have been very good.
No, this was the first time that they've lost 3 straight games by double digits since 1988, and only the second time since the merger.
Ooh.
So, very bad time for a very bad time.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, and I mean, it started with 2 punts on their first 2 drives. They had a yard, and then after a long drive in the Kansas City red zone, Russell Wilson throws an interception. And
it felt over after that.
Yeah, it was over at that point. I know the Chiefs still haven't scored 30 points. I mean, they got to 29. It's the closest they've done it. But there was a stat this weekend where it was the There's 4 teams in the NFL that haven't scored 30 points this year. It's the 15-1 now Chiefs, as well as the Giants, Patriots, and Raiders. Although the Giants did just break that, but the best team in the league, and then the 3 worst. So
I hate it here.
yeah,
Truly, I
it's
do.
the state of affairs.
Yeah.
So Merry Christmas, everybody in Pittsburgh. Must have been a good day. So
The Steelers got U.S. Steel in their stocking instead of a win.
just like I'm imagining like a kid grabbing their stocking.
You just whip out a
And
steel beam.
it weighs like 40 pounds. I got you 40 feet of steel tube stock for Christmas.
You have received tungsten cube for Christmas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that was ugly. And there really wasn't much to talk about this game. The Steelers defense completely no-showed, and their offense no-showed as well.
Speaking of ugly,
yeah. Should we go into the other Christmas Day game?
Yeah.
Because this one is somehow even worse. On Christmas Day, the thousands of children in Houston woke up looking forward to opening their presents and watching their favorite football team play. What they got instead was the football equivalent of a stocking full of coal, as the Baltimore Ravens rolled into town pissed off and hell-bent on stealing their division crown back. The Texans were thoroughly outmatched as their offense scored as many points that day as Beyonce. Maybe try Hanukkah football next year, you guys. Ravens 31, Texans 2.
I can't explain it, but I feel like it's more embarrassing to lose when you put up either 2 or 3 than to put up none.
Yeah. Like at least when the Saints got shut out earlier this year, still the only shutout on the season. It was like, oh, okay, you guys were just completely outmatched. And this one, it was like your defense briefly did something good, and then they went back to being fucking useless.
Yeah, like you gave an extra drive, and what'd you do with it? Fuck all.
Yeah. They turned it over on downs, actually.
At the 1.
Yeah, this was just
bad.
Like, I know the Texans have been underachieving this year, but this is a horrible way to be, like, literally backing into the playoffs. Especially with the division completely locked up, and it's like, is this what this team's going to be like?
Yet the Colts have now scored more points than they have this year.
Oh my gosh.
And the Colts obviously have started 2 different quarterbacks and are not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it really feels like we're back on schedule for the annual, like, Saturday morning ass whooping in Houston, like, wild card game, because that's probably what's going to happen.
This is going to be the Netflix game, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, this game was never close. I mean, it was literally 10-0 after they had run 7 plays on offense, I think.
Something like that.
Like, and this team just keeps feeling the lack of receiving talent that they have now. Joe Mixon has been, after a hot start to the season, has flopped pretty badly in their backfield. And CJ Stroud doesn't look the same as he did last year, and it's concerning.
Definitely getting sophomore slump vibes out of CJ Stroud for sure.
Yeah. I wasn't as bullish as most people were on the Texans. I thought they were still going to be good. I also picked the Jags to win this division because I'm an idiot. But a lot of people hyped this team up as a Super Bowl contender, and the Texans, it almost felt like the Ravens took that preseason hype personally, because they just rolled in and were like, no. We're the Super Bowl contender here.
Yeah.
So,
but also very fitting though that the NFL just waltzed in on Christmas with what they thought were 2 really high profile games, because they wanted to steal all the Christmas hype away from the NBA, and all that ended up happening was all 5 NBA games on Christmas were really good, even though the Celtics lost theirs, and both of the NFL games were shit from a butt.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny too, because a month ago, this seems like 2 really good games, because the Steelers were playing really well and the Texans, weren't scoring as much, but they were still a formidable team. And now you're seeing the Ravens and Chiefs both basically shaking off these like mid-season slumps on offense they've had, or Chiefs on offense, Ravens on defense, and just tightening the fuck up and saying like, all right, it's go time.
Good time to do it.
Also,
All the momentum
I
in the
hope
world now.
I hope to be as like kick ass and chill about it as Lamar Jackson is about football, because he's like in the process of probably going to win his second straight MVP. Like his numbers this year are just absurd. And then he stays out on the field during halftime to watch Beyonce perform. Like, he's like,
That
"No,
was awesome.
coach, don't worry. We're fine. We're up 17-2. I think don't worry about me."
I think the only way he doesn't win MVP is if the Bengals end up making the playoffs. Because if the
Yeah.
Bengals squeak in, it should absolutely be Joe Burrow. But if they end up missing it, it's like Lamar, hands down. No questions
Yes.
asked.
Speaking of them too, like I keep hearing people talk about like the NCAA is dumb, but don't you wish we could college committee the Texans out of the playoffs and replace them with the Bengals?
That's so real.
Yeah. So yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your games, because I know the Texans sure didn't. And luckily we just followed up with another gift, which was the Bears on primetime again. So let's go there.
This game does not deserve an introduction. Seahawks 6, Bears 3.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Oh wait, here comes the drop. Yeah, I was gonna say Austin Spencer, friend of the show. Hopefully we get him back on here soon. He initially signed up to do the intro for this game. He's like, I'm not gonna be there, so it'll just be silence. I'm like, yeah, that's about what this deserved.
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, just once again watching the career of Caleb Williams be completely and utterly destroyed before it even
Has a chance to
just
Yeah.
like
an entirely scoreless second half.
Dude, I know Eberflus needed to go, but the fact that they replaced him with somebody who's even more incompetent when it comes to game management, it's made a lot of revisionist historians come out and be like, "No, you should never fired him." And I was like, well, because this is another game where it was like this game was winnable, and like so you had I can't remember the O lineman's name, but he committed a hold on what was the only touchdown pass of the game, which wiped 7 points off the board for the Bears, which would have won the game, and that was in the first half, I believe. That same O lineman is the one who false started on the what would have been game deciding 4th and 1 late in the game.
Oh my god.
And I do just want to jump forward to that, because that was a ridiculous setup where so it was 4th and 1 on the Chicago 39, and they initially sent out the punt team and then called a timeout and lined the offense back up. And Caleb Williams the whole time was saying like, no, go for it. There's 2 minutes left. Like, we can't, like, let's just go, And so they do that. And then Curran, that's who it was, false starts, which pushes them back to a 4th and 6. And Caleb Williams throws a dart to DJ Moore.
Beautiful.
Like, just to show, like, this dude has it. Like, this team just has to fucking do something with him.
The 3rd and 14 after that, when he threw it to Adunze for 15.
Yes.
Like,
oh my god.
Both of those throws, like, were obviously the 2 best throws of the game. Might have even been his 2 best throws of the season.
Yeah.
And he had like under 100 yards on the game before those 2 throws happened.
Yeah.
That's how terrible of a performance this was.
Yeah. And then, of course, this drive ends with Caleb Williams throwing his first interception in like 7 games, and everybody wants to shit on him for it. And it was like, come on, man. But it's just so frustrating because this team has done. I mean, they've put some receiving talent around it, but like the dude can't throw it to any. He can't find anybody open when he gets sacked 7 times and he's scrambling for his life every play.
7
It's
times
just,
by a Seahawks defense that like isn't bad, but isn't great either.
yeah, they're not special is the thing. Yeah.
Like they're middle of the
Um,
road, which is respectable for the NFL, but I mean, when you're letting up that many sacks to a middle of the road defense, hoo-wee.
yeah. And I mean the Seahawks offense didn't do them any favors either. Geno Smith's been clear, like explicit about the fact that he's playing through a pretty nasty like ankle injury that he got a few weeks ago. And it showed because much like the Bears, they did absolutely nothing in the second half. Just
This is just who wanted to win less,
yeah.
and clearly it was the Bears.
It just cracks me up how we get at least like 2 of these games on Thursday night every year, and Al Michaels just has to put up with it.
Ugh.
They're paying him so much money for this.
Like you got to send them out like this.
Yeah.
Like man, so that was the 10th loss in a row for the Bears, and the Seahawks were eliminated despite them winning, as we'll see
Yeah.
later. But
Which yeah, we'll get to that.
so it turned out to be a meaningless game in retrospect. But I mean, the Seahawks they finished the year, or they're 6-1 on the road,
That
which
is
for a
wild.
first-year head coach is phenomenal.
I mean, that means they're 3-6 at home.
Yeah, and like Seattle is one of the tougher environments to play in too, which makes this all the more weird.
Yeah. I mean, like this last week there was "Go Pack Go" chants in Seattle, and it's like that is a heated rivalry from the 2000s and 2010s, and like
Yeah.
the fact that Seahawks fans are getting overrun in their own stadium is not a good look.
No.
But it's been a mixed bag for Mike McDonald's first year, but
Finishing above 500 though for a team that wasn't expected to do a whole lot is, I think, pretty encouraging for them long term though.
yeah. So we'll see what the future holds for them, but fortunately, we will not be seeing Geno Smith in the playoffs again. But them's the breaks, I guess.
I can't believe we spent that much time on that game.
Yeah.
Good God.
Even then, I still feel like that's like a shorter amount of time than we normally spend. On stuff.
Oh, definitely.
So, and then Saturday kicked off with another game that we're probably not going to have to spend much time on, as the Chargers went to Foxborough.
The Chargers rolled in for a battle at Gillette. It was not a battle at all. Chargers 40, Patriots 7. Fuck.
Yeah, this was bad.
So, full disclosure, I went to Connecticut on Saturday to visit my grandparents, and I didn't know until the middle of the week that this was going to be the Saturday game. So, I ended up hitting traffic on my way for people that were on their way to see this game. And all I could say to myself was, congratulations on wasting your money, because you're going to see a blowout of at least 20 points. Good thing it ended up being 33.
Yeah, the Patriots really did not show up on any front. I mean, Drake May really couldn't do much. Wasn't he sacked a bunch of times in this game? Yeah, 4 times he was sacked.
4.
Compare that to the fact that Justin Herbert was only pressured 6 times on his 40 dropbacks.
Yeah, this was abysmal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just never close.
And this is going to segue right into what I put down as the WTF moment of the week, which is obviously Bill Belichick did it for a while, and now Gerard Mayo does it, where every Monday after the Pats play, they go on the morning radio show, like the WEI station around here, and the hosts. Oh, that is my phone ringing. Anyway, so they always bring the head coach on for like an interview, and they asked him about the game and all of that. And so they were asking Gerard Mayo about how he thought the game went, and he said he felt like the effort was good. You lost by 33 at home.
Yeah.
Like,
which, like, even if you're trying to kind of like say, be like, no, but we played hard, and it was like, well, how bad are your players if that's playing hard? Um,
Just
I wonder how much is like the Patriots front office telling Gerard Mayo, like man, let's just call it and get the first overall pick and build a fucking dynasty or whatever. But I don't know how well that's going to go over with players, because obviously you can't go openly tell all your players, hey, we're tanking, because NFLPA is not going to be very happy about that. It's just like it raises some questions about the Gerard Mayo regime.
I do not like the idea of firing a head coach after 1 year at all. I think it's an unfair shake to the guy that you hired and was supposed to have a lot of faith in and everything. But like quotes like that after a game like that make me think he's just totally out of his element and that he just was not ready to be a head coach yet.
Yeah,
And that if you continue
it's
that
concerning.
experiment longer, it's not going to get better.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And not just that, like they were, I think it was Daniel Aquale, one of our defensive tackles, was asked about it in the media, and he said that he thought a lot of guys were giving up before the end of the game, and it's like if the guys on the field think that other guys on the field are giving up, and the head coach doesn't think anybody's giving up, that's a very bad miscommunication and just a lack of awareness of what's going on the field that you don't see eye to eye on something like that.
Yep, 100%.
That's really not good.
Yeah, and I mean they're in a situation now where if they lose next week, they clinch the first overall pick.
What a world.
But still remains to be seen if Gerard Mayo is going to be there for it, because there have been rumors that he might be let go, especially with Mike Vrabel out in the open. So,
and I think Mike Vrabel's going to interview with the Jets too. So if they want to get their hands on him, they better act quickly.
Yeah. And on the Patriots side, or Chargers side, like what a turnaround these last 2 weeks have been, because this was an offense that was kind of stuck in the mud, scored 17 points in 3 consecutive weeks, and everybody was kind of raising questions about them. They've scored 74 points in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And they play the Raiders next week, so that stat might get worse.
It very well might. Yeah, 428 yards of offense compared to 181. Lad McConkey on the season has more receiving yards. Of course, he was the second-round pick that was picked with the pick the Patriots traded to the Chargers. And I want to just talk about this whole trade. That it was 2 picks of the Chargers and 2 picks of the Patriots. With those 2 picks, the Chargers took Lad McConkey and their cornerback Tarheeb Still. And with the 2 picks the Patriots got, they took wide receiver Jalen Polk and wide receiver Javon Baker. And Lad McConkey has more touchdowns, I think, than Jalen Polk has receptions this year.
He had more yards in this game than Jalen Polk has all season.
I don't even know if Javon Baker has a single reception on the entire season. Yeah, no, he doesn't. He has played, I think, let's see this. I think he's played in like 10 or 11 games. He's been targeted 3 times in 11 games and has not caught any of them. So Lad McConkey has more touchdowns than Javon Baker has receptions.
Yeah, and for reference, Jalen Polk, who was, a second-round pick this year?
Second rounder.
87 yards on the season.
Yeah. And I think Tarheeb Still's got a couple of interceptions already, too, so...
Yeah.
The Chargers
I feel like we talk about him. We talk about Tarheeb Steele almost every single week.
Yeah, he's got 4 interceptions. He's tied for 10th in the league with 4 picks. So he's got more picks than fucking Baker has targets.
Yeah, it's just
not good.
It just everybody always criticized Belichick for not being able to evaluate receivers in the draft, and then he leaves, and
maybe this is just a personnel department problem, because after year 1, it doesn't seem like Elliott Wolf is a whole lot better.
No. So maybe check up what your scouts are up to.
Maybe people were too hard on Belichick for that, as it turns out.
So with the win, the Chargers clinched their spot in the playoffs. They're now sitting at 10-6.
We're 3-13.
Yeah,
Oh.
It's crazy to think how time flies. That 5 years ago, the narrative was that Philip Rivers has never beaten Tom Brady, and now you have the Chargers going into New England and dropping 40 burgers on him.
Oh man. Yet
Wild how times change.
Gerard Mayo at the beginning of the year said that the Pats would win more than 4 games this year because they, won 4 last year, and now we're a loss away from being 3-14 and picking first for the first time in 30 years.
We will win more than 4 games.
Yeah. The good news is when we do the recaps for the playoffs, I won't have to talk about the Patriots anymore.
Yeah, we're very close to not having to talk about them anymore.
Thank fuck. Of all the games to miss this year, I'm glad it was this one.
Yeah. And then Saturday also had another game that had some major AFC playoff ramifications in Cincinnati. Did I just play the same song 2 times in a row? Hang on.
Proud of you.
I did! I miscounted. Okay, here we go. The 7th seed in the playoffs, a controversial addition to the NFL postseason. The 7th seed has seen its fair share of deadweight teams backing their way into the tournament in just its short lifespan. But for the second week in a row, the Broncos had a chance to lock themselves into that seed, but seemed hell-bent on letting it slip through their hands. After recovering a Bengals fumble, Bo Nix turned it right back over with an interception, which Joe Burrow turned into a touchdown to take a 7-point lead late in the game. Nix and the Broncos answered back with a touchdown with just 14 seconds remaining, though again they decided to try to not win and refused to go for 2. In overtime, the Bengals handed them a gift, missing just a 33-yard field goal, and needing just a tie to get in, the Broncos again proceeded to take no time off the clock, give Cincy the ball right back, and this time the field goal went through. While the Bengals are still clinging on to life in the playoff picture, the Broncos could be staring down the barrel of another late season collapse. This was the second week in a row they had a chance to get into the playoffs, and they failed. This week was probably easier than last week. And, it's not foreign to the Broncos to have these late season collapses, and they have an uphill battle next week, as we'll talk about in Pick They Thems. But it's getting a little sketchy.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the Chiefs are probably going to rest all their starters this weekend. So if the Broncos lose to all the Chiefs' backups, they probably didn't deserve to be in the playoffs to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it is confirmed Carson Wentz is starting for the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, that could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, this was a game that the Bengals were just begging to lose. Their first 2 drives, they both ended on failed 4th down attempts. And despite that, the Broncos only had a 3-0 lead in that time.
That second one, too, was a 17-play drive that took 9 minutes off the clock, and they turned it over at the 2.
Yeah.
Just back-breaking shit. But luckily for them, the Broncos just didn't do shit with it at all.
Oh, yeah. This game went into the 4th quarter, tied at 10-all. Neither team had really done much. And then you have the Bengals immediate, score, what is it, 6 minutes into the, or no, like
3.5-ish.
About 5 minutes into the 4th quarter. Broncos followed up with just an incredible throw by Bo Nix. It was 60 plus yards through the air to Mims.
That was
one
beautiful.
of the best throws of the year. And then right after that was what I mentioned, was the Bengals driving right to midfield and then fumbling it. And then Bo Nix threw a pick right back to them. And you have a weird situation where the Bengals get down to the Broncos 1 yard line with with about a minute and a half left, right? And Chase Brown slides at the Denver 1 because he wants to try to run out the Bengals want to run out the clock, and he rolls up his ankle in the process of it, so they have to take an injury timeout. So now the clock stopped.
That was ridiculous.
Which what you're trying to do is get Denver to use their timeout. Instead, you have to use yours. And so
failed successfully.
Yeah, Mark Schlereth, or I think it wasn't Schlereth in the booth. That was last week. whoever's in the booth is like, you want to run the clock down, and then they just punch the ball in immediately with a QB sneak with a minute and a half left. And I'm watching this and I'm like, they're going to regret that, right? Because all you have to do is just kneel 3 times and kick a field goal, and you win the game. And instead, they leave Denver a minute and a half left with, I think, 2 timeouts, and they go right down the field. And Bo Nix throws a dart to Mims again for a touchdown with 14 seconds left on 4th and 1. Again, just this Bengals defense completely letting them down. And then you have what I was mentioning, where Bo Nix, as soon as the ball's caught, is signaling to the sideline, like, go for 2. We have them on their heels. And for once in his life, Sean Payton goes conservative and kicks the field goal. And they regret it because they did absolutely nothing in overtime.
They should have gone for 2 there.
Yeah. They had a whopping 6 yards in overtime.
But not just that, but like the missed field goal by McPherson, it was like, okay, great, you've done this. Now you only need a field goal yourself. And then
you just need a tie and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah. But if you wanted to win, only a field goal.
Yeah.
And then they just said, how about instead we just let T. Higgins get like 35 yards on the same drive and score him back-to-back plays and make us wait another week.
Yep.
Or fuck us out of the playoffs entirely, depending on how next week goes.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this game, I mean, they get the ball back with 2:43 left. They get a 3-yard run and then pass it twice, take no time off the clock. They take 10 seconds off the clock and gave it right back to the Bengals, who immediately drove down the field again and scored.
Yeah, the Bengals basically had to do a 2-minute offense because like a tie eliminated them. So like they basically had to act like they were losing even though they were tied. And so they still managed to find a way because Joe Burrow is just that fucking good.
Yeah.
And now he's got 42 touchdowns on the year.
It really felt like neither team wanted to win this game, which was crazy. Like it was just like a comedy of errors back and forth.
His 8th game in a row with 3 or more touchdown passes.
That is fucking absurd.
And he's got 4,600. He is 359 yards away in the last week, which with how the Steelers defense is playing is plausible from 5,000 on the year.
Yeah. Imagine if Cincinnati put even a decent defense on this team. Imagine.
Yeah.
Like, this team should be an AFC contender, not the contingency to the contingency plan for who's going to make the 7 seed. It's just ridiculous.
But again, if they find a way to sneak in, like, that should be the MVP. But
yeah,
we'll see.
And also, if they let the Bengals into the tournament, that should scare the shit out of every other fucking team in the AFC.
One I wouldn't want to face.
No.
The defense isn't great, but they can outscore just about anybody. And
like
they get in, it's going to be Buffalo they're playing, and they have Bill's number in the playoffs. So
I was going to say, imagine you're the Bills, and you've put together this awesome season, and then the team you draw in the first round is the goddamn Bengals.
I would lose my mind if I was a Bills fan, actually.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm not.
So I think you're really rooting for the Jets on Sunday. Like or no, not rooting for the Jets.
Rooting for the
Dolphins. Yeah.
Because the Dolphins is the easiest.
I'd love
Two is banged
for those
up.
Guys to come to town again.
Two is banged up. The Dolphins can't play in the cold, and you have their number anyway. The Dolphins are the dream matchup for the Bills in that in the round. So
yeah, Cincinnati stays alive. The Broncos might be in trouble. And then finally, we wrapped up the Saturday slate with another divisional game. This one also with playoff ramifications for the home team. With their postseason chances officially over, the Cardinals entered SoFi Stadium chasing just personal goals at this point. The Rams could move one step closer to clinching the division, and Arizona's goal was to stop it. Both offenses were stuck in the mud for the first quarter before the Rams broke through late in the first quarter. But Arizona put themselves on board after halftime with Trey McBride finally getting into the end zone. Down just 4, the Cardinals got the ball back with 6:33 to play with time for Kyler Murray to make a signature moment happen. 7 plays later, interception. After forcing a 3-and-out, the Cardinals got it back again. The Cardinals drove to the Rams' 5-yard line. Another interception. The questions grow louder, Kyler.
Trey McBride getting a touchdown.
Yeah. That's not going to pick up on the recording, but there was clapping there.
Oh, well, oh
yeah,
well.
For some reason, Craig doesn't fucking record the Discord soundboards, so.
Gotta be rigged.
Ironically, though, it was a target to Trey McBride on the goal line, and imagine if he hadn't caught that first touchdown, and like
That would've
potentially
been sad.
his first touchdown of the season and a game winner clocks him in the side of the head and gets intercepted by Reese Witherspoon.
That was a hell of a pick too, by the way.
Or did I just say Reese Witherspoon? I'm a fucking idiot. Holy shit.
I forget who it was, but it was a hell of an effort either way.
No, it's Akilla Witherspoon. God, I'm fucking stupid.
Oh, that's right.
Matthew, edit that out. That's an actor.
But Trey McBride, like, genuinely a top 5 tight end in the league right now. Like, touchdown receptions or not.
He's been like great this year.
Like, this was probably his best game of the year. Kept them in the game, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Rams right now because they did end up clinching the West based on what would happen later on Sunday night. But
this is 3 really ugly wins in a row.
Yeah.
And the Jets win was not pretty, and the Niners one was bad.
Yeah, yeah. Which, like, the Niners game, bad weather. The Jets game, it was extremely cold. But this one, I mean,
you're in
no
a dome.
excuse.
There's no excuse for that one.
Yeah.
That's just bad football.
I do want to talk about the Cardinals because I did predict that they're going to win like 7 games this year. But it somehow feels worse than what I was talking about. Mostly
Not
because
like
they were 6-4. And there's an interesting point brought up where or was brought up on Heed the Call where the narrative with the Cliff Kingsbury team was always like, oh, Cliff Kingsbury's teams always fade down the stretch. And then it was like, well, maybe it's a Kyler Murray thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been a bigger defender of Kyler Murray, and that last play, I don't necessarily think it was his fault. Was it high? Yeah, it was a catchable ball. I think it was more on Trey McBride. But still, you have 2 shots to win this game, and he throws a pick both times. And it's just
Yep.
you're entering the offseason with a lot of question marks. Because Kyler is movable if they were to move on. And he would have a good trade market.
Oh yeah, somebody would definitely trade for him somewhere.
Yeah. I wonder if he's, especially because I think the thing that hurts him is the fact that he has not hooked up well with Marvin Harrison Jr. It's been very hit or miss. Like, this was a better game, but we've gone weeks at a time with him just not being a factor.
Yeah, he was good in this game, but the couple before that, he was really not getting the targets that a top receiver, even as a rookie, probably should get.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of questions going into this offseason with this Cardinals team, and I really don't know what the future holds for them.
They have a decent core, but I think they just have too many missing pieces still to make it like a deep playoff run as it stands. Like this is just a perfect 7-8 win team where they won't be worse than that, or they're not going to be better than that without substantial changes.
Yeah. Well, and the one position I think they do have covered is 5'7" wide receivers by the name of Greg Dortch. So let's go on the update for that.
'Cause he is Greg George, short king, proud of Glendale's football team, scoring all the touchdowns for you, punt return man, kickoffs too. He's Greg Dortch.
Had a bit of a uptick in the stat department. 3 receptions for 18 yards.
Yeah,
we're stepping it up, as well as kick return for 28 and 2 punt returns for 15. So
do it all.
Just saying, get our boy more involved. Good things happen.
I also
get
like
Greg Dortch the ball.
I also like that both the Cardinals kicker and punter are both former Patriots. As Chad Ryland missed another extra point, which, by the way, should be mentioned because if he had made that extra point, The
Oh my
Cardinals could
God,
have gone
yeah.
for a field goal at the end to tie it and wouldn't have needed a touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So, yeah, got a little bit of his old Pat self in him still, as it turns out.
So, a lot of questions going into the offseason. However, the Rams will be moving on. We got into Sunday where there was a number of like useless games, and this one technically had playoff implications.
But barely.
But yeah, I mean, it's on fumes at that point. But let's go to the blowout, or not the blowout, but the 40 burger that I don't think anybody saw coming.
The Joe Flacco-led Colts arrived at MetLife Stadium looking for their second win of the season there, and with a potential playoff berth still on the line for the boys from Indy, he threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. Surely, that would be indicative of a great performance against the 2-13 Giants, led by their third different starting quarterback. As when the dust settled, the Colts gave up 45 points to a Drew Lock-led offense to get themselves eliminated. Colts 33, Giants 45?
Yeah, Drew Lock had genuinely like the 5th or 6th best passing performance of the 2000s.
He
Like-
was very, very close to a perfect passer rating.
Yeah.
This was ridiculous.
17 of 23 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And Malik Neighbors, man, that motherfucker's cold.
Yeah, 171 yards through the air.
Yet, so we talked about last week that about Brock Bowers breaking Puka Nakua's all-time receptions record for rookies, which he set last year. Malik Neighbors is 1 behind Puka Nakua right now.
Oh my God.
So, like, that record could be broken twice in the span of 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And the fact that Malik Neighbors has done this and has 1,100 yards, which is 8th in the NFL, with Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle as his quarterbacks. If you give that man, like, fucking, I'm blanking on who could throw to him, but, like, a better quarterback, a Joe Burrow guy, for example, he would be at Jamar Chase's level already as a rookie. He is legit.
Yeah. This this almost feels like a game where like Brian Dable is like, by the way, I'm pretty good at this. Like
This feels like a Madden simulation gone wrong.
It really does.
Like Drew
Just-
Lock did that?
I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna find real quick what the next most points the Giants have scored. I believe it's 29.
Yeah, when they beat Seattle.
Yeah.
But
So
this-
like this has been consistently one of the worst offenses, and like I didn't think the Colts were a bad defense, and then they just gave up 45.
Yeah, this was the first time the Giants had scored 40 in like a decade too.
That is absurd.
I think the last time they scored 40 was that like 52-49 game against the Saints, whatever year that was.
Oh my God, I forgot about that
It's been that long for them. But the best part is they chose just a random Sunday to do this and fuck themselves out of the number 1 pick in the process.
Yeah.
That the Raiders had already given to them on a silver platter.
Yep.
It's like, no, I don't want it either.
I do want to talk about the Colts real quick because the season mercilessly is over. Thank God. Anthony Richardson did not play in this game. He's been dealing with a back injury for
think he's
some
out.
reason. The initial plan was for him to start next week. I don't think he is now.
Yeah, I think he's going to be out again.
It's just like I'm not trying to dunk on the guy while he's down, but like this season has just continuously proved like how not ready he is for the NFL, because
Yeah.
like when the pre-draft analysis on him was like, this guy has a ton of raw talent, but he is extremely inexperienced and he's a project. He should not be made a day 1 starter. And then the Colts took him 4th overall and made him a day 1 starter.
Yep.
And he's bounced in and out of the lineup with injuries and then performance problems. He has like a 47% career completion percentage. He's hurt again. I don't understand what the Colts are trying to do with him. Like why he is he has started the majority of the games both season. Obviously, if you go into like off-season training camp and he outperforms Gardner Minshew last year and he outperforms Joe Flacco this year, then obviously you start him. But like,
Really
what's happening between then? Because this guy, like his performances that we've seen every Sunday, cannot be the same that we see in training camp that makes him the starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, even for backups though, like Joe Flacco is going to be 40 in 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
this might be an entirely different quarterback room come next year because I don't know what the hell they think they're going to do at this point.
Yeah, I think obviously Richardson will be there next year. I feel like
I don't know if Flacco will be though at that age.
I can't imagine Flacco will be here next year.
I think this might be the end of the road for him finally.
Yeah.
Which, if it is, I mean, solid career for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What a way to go out though.
Thankfully, I was gonna say, I mean, still threw for 330 yards and a couple scores. Got 125 on the ground from Jonathan Taylor, but like, who saw this defense giving up 45 points?
Not a terrible defense either, like you said. Like they gave up 30 to the Titans last week, which was also not great, but I think the only other time they gave up 30 was to Buffalo, I think.
I think so,
like,
yeah.
It's not, I don't know, but yeah, what a weird game that turns out to be very fun to watch for no reason whatsoever.
So yeah, mercilessly, the Colts season is pretty much over now. And another team that cannot wait to get to week 18 is the New York Jets as they travel to Buffalo.
Finding one word to summarize the 2024 New York Jets is a very tall task. With so many issues on and off the field, tumultuous comes to mind. So and frustrating, especially for a fan of the club. But the word I would use? Bidding. From an owner that has his GM answering to his teenage son, to a Hall of Fame quarterback that has been a complete shell of himself at times, the Jets' grand plans for ascension to the top of the AFC have once again imploded in ways that could only happen to a franchise as awful as this one continues to be. Congratulations, Jets. You ended with as many NFL championships in Jimmy Carter's lifetime as the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. I guess this is what happens when you put all your energy for the whole season into blowing out the arch rival that have had your nuts in their mouth for the better part of 25 years. Bills 40, Jets 14, Jets haters 1,000.
So there's a little stat that I want to read out. There are a couple actually. So this game was 12-0 with 5.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
And then it got bad. Really quick.
with 10 minutes remaining in the fourth, it was 40-0.
Yeah,
like things got out of control early. We got a safety. That's always fun. The Jets came into this game leading the league with 153 penalties accepted, which
good God,
is not good. They added 16 more for 120 yards.
The Bills scored 3 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes and 13 seconds of the third quarter, and then got another one 2 minutes into the fourth.
For reference,
that was 28 points in 8 minutes of game time.
The Jets had more penalty yards than Aaron Rodgers had pass yards. So he threw 2 interceptions. Tyrod Taylor came in and threw 2 touchdowns. So Rodgers is still sitting. Yeah, Rodgers is still sitting on 499 career passing touchdowns, which him ending the year with 3 straight games without throwing a touchdown while that number's in place would be hilarious.
We also got Mitch Trubisky in the game, and he threw a single pass, which ended up being a 69-yard touchdown to Tyrell Shavers.
Nice.
I have never heard of Tyrell Shavers, but that's good for him because he ended up leading the team in receiving with that one catch. He's an undrafted rookie from Middle Tennessee. That's awesome.
Yeah, Josh Allen had to do very little in order for his team to just absolutely dominate this game. He's also pointing out Josh Allen now has 40 plus touchdowns in 5 straight seasons. That's the most, and also this current Bills team has the most touchdowns in a single season in Buffalo Bills history. That includes all of those Jim Kelly teams. This team's
This
a
is gonna-
juggernaut.
Yeah, this could potentially be up there for one of the better non-MVP seasons, just because of what Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow have also been doing this year.
Yeah.
Like on the
Well,
similar wavelength to what we just saw with Ashton Genty not winning the Heisman Trophy, I think we could see it here with Josh Allen and the MVP award.
Yeah, it really does feel like whoever plays best next week between he and Lamar Jackson is going to get MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just wild. Also, just to speak on the terrible vibes of the Jets, Ian Rappaport reported that Garrett Wilson said he does not want to return if Aaron Rodgers is his QB. Aaron Rodgers has been basically hinting that he doesn't think he's going to be back.
Sounds like
What a
Devontae
year!
might not be back either.
Yeah.
So, man.
And the funniest thing too is I was thinking about like if Rodgers does come back for another season, like what teams are going to be dishing out for a quarterback. And with the
Cleveland.
Raiders completely blowing their playoff seeding or their draft seeding, they're probably going to be shopping. And it's going to be a situation like, can they get Devontae to come back?
Aaron Rodgers playing for a team that's co-owned by Tom Brady would be so goddamn funny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the jokes write themselves. So, yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about this game other than what a failure.
I wish
the
it was
Jets
a shutout.
They've won 4 games. And now we're going into week 7 or week 18 where the Bengals have to root for the Jets to win. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
So good times. Yeah, and I don't really have much else to say about this game.
Just funny though that again that they are going to finish at least 3 games worse with Aaron Rodgers than they will with Zach Wilson last year.
Yeah.
Just again, so fitting. And I know I've said this like probably the last 7 straight weeks, but it continues to amaze me that they've been in lockstep with the Patriots this entire season.
Couldn't happen to a better group of guys.
Nope, it couldn't. I feel bad for Garrett Wilson. I do.
Yeah,
And like
Garrett,
I like Breece Hall a lot.
yeah,
but
I was
the
gonna
rest
say
of them,
both
it's so fucking funny.
Yeah. So, yeah. May this season finally be over. This next game, the stadium operators did not give a shit about this game, and so I'm going to use this time to talk about something that I'm interested in. The Penn Central Railroad was a result of the merger between the Pennsylvania Railroad, New York Central Railroad, and the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad. All 3 were major powers in the Northeast United States who had fallen on tough times after World War II, with massive computer networks that sapped the companies of money, which were required to continue operating due to regulations from the Interstate Commerce Commission. Though the New York Central had come close to operating at a profit in the preceding years due to aggressive reorganization and resource reutilization, they ultimately were absorbed by the lack of funds from the other 2 partners, and after just a year and a half, the newly rechristened Penn Central Transportation Company filed for the largest corporate bankruptcy in United States history until the Enron scandal of 2001. Eventually, the Penn Central was fully taken over by the government and became the Consolidated Rail Corporation, or Conrail. Titans 13, Jaguars 20.
That was beautiful.
One of the video boards in the stadium in Jacksonville was literally just playing Red Zone all day.
That's awesome.
That's how little of a shit anybody gave about this game. It was
There's a better
Mason
game
Rudolph.
this time though between the first than the first one, but still no one cared.
Yeah, it was Mason Rudolph versus Mac Jones. 2 of the most disappointing teams from this season. I mean, I picked the Jags to win this division, and I also said I thought the Titans were going to be better than people thought they were going to be. Instead, they were worse. So
I picked the Titans to be a wild card team this year, and they're 3-13.
I said they were going to win like 8 games. So,
oh man, you know,
genuinely, I don't know if we need to spend more time on this game.
I have to be honest though. Well, one quick note is also the insanely good year that Brian Thomas is having, despite this quarterback play.
Oh yeah,
5th in the league in receiving yards as a rookie is nothing to sneeze at all. But, and the one other thing is, I am really wondering if Mac Jones could potentially play himself into a Sam Darnold type situation next year, where somebody that's quarterback needy might take a stab at him.
I think he'll be a backup somewhere, but he's definitely shown the last few weeks that it's like, okay, Mac Jones still has a little bit of juice.
Like him and
Um,
Brian Thomas have legitimately been really good together.
yeah.
But I don't know.
He's definitely extended his career for a little bit.
For sure.
So,
You know what? Good for him.
yeah.
I
Connor
think.
Orr described him on Heed the Call a few weeks ago as, quote, a squirrely little shit. And I think that's a really good way to describe him. So, yeah. Shall we go to another fucking pointless game that nobody cares about?
Hell yeah.
On to New Orleans.
The Raiders and Saints played each other on Sunday, but noticeably absent was Derek Carr, whose revenge game would have been quite the sight to see. Instead, with him sidelined, enter Spencer Rattler. With a depleted offense void of its top weapons, Rattler still managed 200 passing yards, but 2 interceptions were enough to give Aiden O'Connell and the Silver and Black enough to pull away and give New Orleans its first 11-loss season since Jim Haslett's 2005 squad dropped 13. With 240 yards from O'Connell and Amir Abdullah's first career 100-yard game on the ground in his 10th year in the league, Las Vegas has successfully managed to play itself out of the number 1 pick in 2 short weeks despite the lack of Max Crosby. This was certainly one of the games of all time, and I'm sure 2 months from now, everyone will forget it happened. Raiders 25, Saints 10.
This fucking team. I forgot that they won last week. They were basically locked into the number 1 overall pick, and now they've won back-to-back games in a row.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Also, I am so mad Derek Carr fucking went sicko mode last week and got hurt, because this would have been him losing to all 32 teams.
If only.
God damn it.
They bring him back next year?
I don't think so.
Does anybody like? I don't know if anybody will even pick him up at all next year.
He'd be a damn good backup, but I would also say the same thing about Ryan Tannehill, and he didn't get signed this year, so who knows?
Then again, if somebody employs Tim Boyle, I'm sure somebody will employ Derek Carr.
Yeah. So somebody will pick up Carr. Like, it's just like it. What the fuck happened to the Saints team? I'm just thinking about back to week 2, and we were like, oh, okay.
And they've been 3-11 since.
Yeah. So this game, I was gonna say, does not matter. I can't get a read on Spencer Rattler. Like, this was a better game, but
It's hard
still,
to tell with him though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been great. Yeah, I have nothing to say about this game. So I guess we'll move on. Because Tampa Bay was the site of a very important game for the Bucks. Last week, with control of their own playoff destiny in hand, the Bucks suffered a beatdown at the hand of the Cowboys defense that came ready to fight. Now in a must-win situation, the Bucks welcomed the frisky Carolina Panthers to town, who only fell in overtime because of a Chuba Hubbard fumble last time they faced off. The Bucks weren't playing this time, though, as they scored on their first 5 possessions and were only forced to punt once all day. The defensive line had one plan, which was to put their hand in the dirt and go hunt, as Bryce Young was sacked 5 times, and the Panthers were held scoreless in the second half. Even special teams contributed, with a blocked punt run back for a touchdown, a little help from some local waterfowl. There is no feel-good game this week for the embattled sophomore QB. These swashbucklers are on a mission. Bucks 48, Panthers 14.
It should be noted, this wasn't even a terrible game from Bryce Young either. It was just defense was so bad that nobody paid attention to it.
Yeah, he actually, there's a stat that really showed how well he was playing. He was pressured on 65% of his dropbacks.
God,
he still threw for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns on those plays. So
yeah, that throw to Adam Thielen was very nice.
Yeah, it was a beaut. But the problem was the Bucks had 337 yards at half.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield legitimately like career best game. As many touchdowns as incompletions in this game. Mike Evans reminded everybody who the hell he was. And Bucky Irving had another 100-yard game too. There was just no stopping anybody that was on the field that was wearing red in this game.
No. And it's funny to think about a few weeks ago. Mike Evans is coming into this year with, I think, a 10-year, 1,000-yard streak
Yeah,
in
to
every
start his
season.
career.
And he has exploded the last few weeks. 118 against the Panthers 4 weeks ago, 159 against the Chargers, 97 today. He's now sitting at 915, and like Baker straight up said, he was like, "We're gonna get him 1,000. Like it's gonna happen."
He's got 11 touchdowns on the year too, which is good for 4th in the league. So
Yeah.
he's still that guy.
Oh yeah.
Even at like 31, 32, he is still that dude.
Yeah. And obviously we'll talk about the implications this game had, but like this again is a team that if they get into the tournament, watch the fuck out. Because remember, in the last calendar year, they've beat the Lions and the Eagles. So,
and if they end up getting the division, which all they have to do is win, or the Falcons have to lose for them to get the division, they're gonna get either the Lions or the Vikings round 1, and they've already beaten the Lions this year. So,
well, if the Rams lose next week, they can actually get up to the 3 seed.
Oh, can they?
Yeah. So they have a shot to draw like the Packers. So
that would be
but
interesting.
Still, probably going to be an NFC North team. Could be the Commies if a lot of things work out. But yeah,
and they beat the Commies already this year by a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. So, a lot of momentum going into next week, and this was an absolute must-have game, which I feel like I've talked about. Almost every Bucks game for the last 2 weeks or 2 months has been like that.
It really has. I mean, they lose any of those, they're not in the playoffs.
Yeah. And as we'll talk about in a little bit, very fortuitous because of what happened last week that they're able to put themselves back in position like they've been. So, and on the Panthers, like we said, it was a blowout, but still have a lot to be excited about going into next year. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's about all I have to say about that.
You're not going to have a lot to say about this one either.
Yeah, speaking of the Cowboys and Eagles that I just mentioned, as we mentioned, the Cowboys defense played opportunistically and beat up on the Bucks last week, but there'd be no repeat performance in Philly. Absent Jalen Hurts, the Eagles didn't need much help from backups Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee. Now I'm just going to list a bunch of players. There might be some significance here. O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, and now Saquon Barkley. With 167 yards on the ground, Barkley joined the elusive 2,000-yard club. Through all the swirling chaos of last year's collapse, Sirianni's sideline tantrums, A.J. Brown's public criticisms of his quarterback, one man has been the calming presence of Philadelphia's favorite team, and it's not just Big Dom anymore.
What a fucking season!
Yeah. Speaking of Big Dom,
play on Sunday. So
yeah. Speaking of Big Dom, quick side story: Tanner McKee threw his first career touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then Devonta Smith rifled it up into the stands, and then everybody was like, "Hey man, Tanner probably wanted that ball." It's so. Big Dom himself went up into the stands to fucking negotiate with the fan to get the ball back. And it was either Devonta Smith or AJ Brown. Or no, sorry, it was AJ Brown because he threw 2 touchdowns. AJ Brown agreed to give the fan like his signed jersey from the game in exchange for it. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, the big story, obviously, Saquon is now the 9th 2,000-yard rusher in NFL history. And Saquon is an extremely unselfish player, and like outright said, he was like, "Man, I'm here to do whatever's to win or whatever we need to do to win." Because remember earlier in the season, he had a chance to break the single game record, and Sirianni like straight up asked him like, "Do you want to keep playing?" And he literally said like, "Nah, feed the other guys." Like,
I love
this guy's
Saquon.
all about winning. Yeah, it's such a friggin' class act, dude. Jordan Rodrigue on Heed the Call was sharing a story about Saquon. I can't remember if it was her or it was somebody else that had been profiling him since high school. And they were telling an anecdote of how, because he was a track athlete in high school as well, he won a gold medal, but this girl who went to a different school who like got screwed out of gold medal because of a scoring error or something like that, and he literally gave her his medal, and he was like, yeah, she deserved it. And like that was high school. Saquon Barkley was that unselfish. So like he could obviously go for the record. It's well within reach. I think he's only 105 yards short, something like
Yeah.
that. And he's playing his former team who have no defense. But he outright said, he's like, I mean, the important thing is winning, and like I've been given the opportunity, but I'm going to do whatever we need to do to win the Super Bowl. So
It would have been so funny though.
yeah, I wish he would do it, but at the same time, I totally understand.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, either way though, just continuing to show how insanely terrible of a decision it was for the Giants to let him go.
mhm.
Like,
You know.
this has like Babe Ruth curse vibes to it.
It really does. Yeah.
Going
And,
to
like,
your
I
division rival and having one of the greatest seasons ever by a running back right after. It's like, yeah, you deserve what happened to you.
yeah, and, like, I don't wanna keep shitting on Daniel Jones, but, like, the decision was to pay him instead of Saquon is gonna be one that they're gonna regret for, like, a decade.
It's
So.
not Daniel Jones's fault. That is a front
No.
office failure in every sense of the word. But
Yeah. I mean, even then, like, mission accomplished if you're Daniel Jones, right? Like, he's set for life.
yeah, and
Um,
now he's a backup quarterback for a 14-win playoff team. So
yeah.
it worked out for him pretty good. The only one that didn't work out in this whole thing was the Giants general manager.
Yeah. So, yeah, this Cowboys team is so weird too, because like I mentioned, they did nothing on defense all year, and then the Bucks came to town and they beat the hell out of the Bucks, played them super physical, and then went to Philly and just got their asses whooped. Like
This
it
was
bad.
get dotted up by Tanner McKee. Like, man,
Yeah.
the thing that I don't understand more though is why have the Cowboys not been playing Trey Lance at all the last couple weeks? Like
I was wondering that earlier because like when Dak first got hurt, Trey Lance wasn't even active, and I was like, that's weird,
very weird. Like
I'm
he got into
surprised.
the game because of the blowout, but like this is a guy that was drafted in the top 5 3 years ago. That you traded like a 4th round pick for to see what he's capable of, and you're not seeing what he's capable of. You're not giving him the chance.
Yeah, I have to imagine he just doesn't look good in practice because I again, I don't want to like shit on Trey Lance too much because we've barely seen him, but I think the fact that we've barely seen him in the NFL is like the biggest damning of him as a player, because a lot like Anthony Richardson, he wasn't very experienced when he came out of college, and the
No.
49ers traded a lot to get him, and then he couldn't beat out Jimmy Garoppolo for the starting gig the first year. And I remember a lot of people like really going in on the 49ers for that decision, and it was like, if Trey Lance was the best quarterback on the roster, he'd be starting. Like, obviously they drafted him thinking that he was going to be a project, but like when we finally did get to see him, he wasn't special, and they moved on from him because Brock Purdy, like regardless of what people think of him, is special. And Trey Lance never got that job back because like Brock Purdy is doing things that he wasn't able to do. And if he can't beat out Cooper Rush for the starting gig, like there's a lot of questions about this dude.
It's also just funny that like a lot of times when a team drafts high like that and it ends up being a bust, it sets the team back a long time. But the 49ers just somehow completely got away with it.
Yeah.
Like
I
they
mean,
arguably wasted a top 5 draft pick, and they made the Super Bowl the year after doing it.
They traded up to waste that pick.
Yeah.
Like, this was a team that was fresh off, going to the Super Bowl, and then had an off season because of injuries to their quarterback, and then traded way up and, got basically nothing for it.
Oh, so you mean fresh off a Super Bowl and offseason because of injuries to the quarterback. So what you're telling me is that they're going to do this again this year.
I mean,
They're
Brock
going to
Purdy
trade
is
up
in a
and
con-
take Shedeur Sanders. You heard it here first.
Brock Purdy's in a contract year. It's not
Yeah.
out of the question.
The only thing that's funnier
Like-
than it happening once is it happening twice.
I'm just saying, Debo Samuel might be part of an off-season trade package.
I would,
So-
you know what? I was just thinking that because, like, as we'll talk about later, Ricky Pearsall looks legit, and
Yeah.
if now that they've got Ayuk locked up, we'll see how he is post-injury. But they got him lined up. Kittle's obviously who he's been, and now with Pearsall emerging, it's like, is Debo expendable?
He really hasn't been that effective this year. Yeah.
No, he's only had like 2 solid games. It's like, did they just trade him at this point?
Might be. So just keep an eye out for that. Or keep an eye out for, I don't know, the whole
Yeah.
quarterback situation for that team. So yeah. And then that 49ers tangent.
That was
brings our
Cowboys,
Eagles, yeah, to a close. On to Cleveland for another game that technically mattered, but honestly, who gives a shit?
As the great Colin Mockery once said, Miami Dolphins 20, Beverly Hills 90210, Cleveland Browns 3.
Like, honestly, if the Browns don't give a shit and aren't trying, then why should we even expend any effort talking about them?
Yet they have scored 7, 6, and 3 points in the last 3 games. That
Yeah,
is 16 points in 3 games.
So, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has been under center in December for 31 drives, and on those 31 drives, they have scored 6 points.
Good fucking grief.
If ever there were more blatant of a tank in the NFL, I don't know if we've ever seen it.
This is, I think, his 7th career start, or 6th or 7th. He is yet to throw a touchdown pass. No
Correct me if-
touchdowns in 6 picks in his career, and a career QBR of 18.9. He's
Good
not
God.
good.
No. It's so clear what the Browns are doing. They've given up on the season. At this rate, they might even, like, keep hearing stuff that Stefanski might be out, which would be crazy considering
I
he won
really hope
Coach
they
of the
don't do
Year
that.
last year. We'll talk about it in the news, but they're restructuring Deshaun Watson's contract. I know a lot of people are saying that it's like, oh, let's keep him around. I think they're just gonna do what they can to try to make him tradable. I don't know if anybody would trade for him. So
I doubt it.
who knows? But genuinely, like, this team's just not trying.
Not only that, but even despite them not trying, they finally did get tired of DTR somehow because they're going to start Bailey Zappi this weekend.
Okay. Like, whatever, you guys.
And
Like, I guess Jameis is still hurt. I don't know.
yeah, Jameis was the emergency third quarterback because he has an injury of some kind.
Oh,
So I guess
okay.
Bailey Zappi's starting and DTR will be the backup.
Somehow Jerry Jeudy almost got 100 yards through the air.
Just by pure will.
Yeah. On the Dolphins side, Tyler Huntley, pretty good game.
Yeah. He might have played himself into a backup job next year, honestly, because he's keeping the Dolphins afloat for another week.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good for that 1 year where he, like, played in the playoffs for the Ravens and was playing well and
made the Pro Bowl.
He was like the 8th alternate for the Pro Bowl, but he was in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, like, he had played as poorly as he had with the Dolphins. So this was cool to see.
Yeah, because the New England game was kind of ugly,
Yeah.
and the Tennessee game was ugly, but this one was good. He did what he needed to do.
That's what the Browns are there for.
Pretty much. And now it sounds like Tua is doubtful again, and so now Tyler Huntley's got a 4-12 not trying Jets team coming up for Week 18, and all it takes is the Broncos to stumble, and this Dolphins team could fuck around and make it somehow.
The fucking Dolphins are gonna make the playoffs, aren't they?
They very well could.
Like, the Broncos and the Bengals would both be fun 7 seeds, so the Dolphins are gonna make it. Like,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
that would be the type of shit, huh?
They really have the easiest path too, because the Broncos are going to Kansas City,
Even with
and
backups.
yeah, even with backups, like Carson Wentz is not a slouch. Like that's a pretty goddamn good backup quarterback. And then all they have to do is beat the shitty Jets.
Yeah, and the Bengals are going to Pittsburgh, so
Yeah.
this is by no means a gimme for anybody, but I think the Dolphins have the best chance here.
Yeah.
Which is they started 2-6. We Dunning rings them in week 5, and they're
Yeah.
here.
There's always a team that gets us in Dunyan rings, and we might be looking at them. So
And Tua didn't even have to play this week for it to happen,
no.
as we all thought.
Yeah, and I think that's all the.
Yeah, no,
all
that game
needs
was
to be
ass.
said.
Who cares?
Yeah. A game that was not ass took place in Minneapolis. The NFC North, a murderous row of dominant football teams who will dazzle you with their explosive offenses captained by their genius young football minds calling the shots and their punishing defenses. Except the Bears, but we don't talk about them. With a shot at the number 1 seed still on the line, the Vikings capitalized on a sloppy start by the Packers, building a 27-10 lead going into the fourth quarter. A missed field goal was followed by 2 straight Green Bay scores to make it close, but Sam Darnold once again converted 2 clutch first downs to ice the game and preserve a 27-25 victory, notching their 14th win of the campaign and inching closer to the elusive first-round bye. Bring on Detroit for an all-time season or regular season finale.
Sam Darnold has 35 touchdown passes.
Did you see the post-game locker room clip of him literally getting picked up by all of his teammates?
I did. And also 4,100 yards, which is good for 4th in the league.
That is
for a guy that's been an afterthought since he left the Jets.
I expected Sam Darnold to have a good season. I didn't expect him to be fringe top 5 quarterback in the league.
Like the 12 picks are a little bit concerning, but I mean, he in most of these games he still found a way to work around those turnovers and made it a win anyway. And he did it again in this game.
He's thrown 2 interceptions in the last 7 games.
Yeah.
He threw 3 against the Jags in an ugly game. And since then, he's been
the Indy game.
Awesome. Yeah. I kept thinking that obviously the Vikings are very good. I didn't expect them to be going into week 18 number 1 seed on the line.
I didn't think them or the lines would be 14-2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck, man.
This team is a goddamn machine, and it literally runs through Sam Darnold. And we've heard the rumors that it's barring a Super Bowl win, Sam Darnold is not going to be back. And that's not a knock on him. He was brought here as a backup. JJ McCarthy's the future. Well, at this rate, Sam Darnold might be JJ McCarthy might be the future, but Sam Darnold's the present.
I can see this playing out in a similar way to when the Packers initially drafted Jordan Love and he sat behind Rodgers for those 2 or 3 years. I think that could be how this goes.
Yeah, play your hot hand.
And not through JJ McCarthy's fault. It's just, with how he's been playing, don't fuck that up.
No. And I keep hearing people say oh, but what if they flatline in the playoffs? I don't think they will. I genuinely don't think they will. Because Sam Darnold is playing at such a high level. He doesn't even have to play at a high level in order for this team to be great, right?
Yeah, they won the Jacksonville game. And they won the Indy game. And those were his 2 worst games of the year.
It's a strong team already. And then you have this guy who is playing at such a high level. We always talk about we look back at Sam Darnold's whole career. Yeah, plenty of great quarterbacks have had terrible stretches in their careers too. Sam Darnold has put so much more great football on film this year than he has bad that I just don't have any doubt in him anymore. I really don't. It's like my same feelings with Jared Goff, where it's yeah, there's been some bad games. I'm yeah, but there's been a hell of a lot of good games.
Yeah, and if he does end up leaving, he's going to get paid pretty by somebody because
absolutely,
it's capable, or it's clear now that he's capable of so much more than he ever displayed. And again, clearly this is now a Jets problem.
Yeah,
because I'm sure if Zach Wilson got on the field in Denver, it would look better too.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, he looked really good in the preseason as well.
Yeah,
Sam Darnold, also the first quarterback in NFL history to win 14 games in the first year with a new team. He also has 13 games with 100 plus QBR. Like, this is not a
Good
fluke.
God.
This is
Yeah,
not
no.
him like riding the system. Kirk Cousins wasn't doing this last year. Like, this
He
team
did
is
for like
a
a game.
juggernaut. Yeah.
And it's not just Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison too. Like, they got a big game from Jalen Naylor in this game. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing it with a lot of different guys. And like Hawk had another decent game. They got Cam Akers involved. He had a receiving touchdown. I mean, like, this is just an all-around really good fucking team. Like, he's not a Justin Jefferson merchant or a Jordan Addison merchant or a good defense merchant. This is just a good football team.
Yeah, genuinely. And I mean, the Packers are not a bad football team either.
No.
Like, the fact that they're like we were talking about before we started the show, they're 11-5. They have potential to be the first ever 12 win team to be a 6 seed. Maybe even a 7 or no, if they lose the
a 7 if Washington wins too.
Yeah. I mean, they're 1-4 in the division. They're 11-5 total. Like,
yeah,
the
Philly's
NFC
their
North.
only other loss.
Yeah, the NFC
By
North
5.
is full of fucking juggernauts. And like, this is a team too that if they get hot, they could be Super Bowl contenders as well. Like, the fact that they are not contenders for the number 1 seed is genuinely just because they have to play the Vikings and Lions twice.
Yeah, you take out the 10-point loss to the Lions in week 9, whatever week that was. Their other 4 losses this year are by a combined 12 points.
It's just absurd.
Like, they could very easily be 15-1 right now.
Yeah.
But it is funny how they lost both Vikings games the exact same way.
Yeah.
Got blown out in the first 3 quarters, woke up in the 4th, and lost by exactly 2 points.
Yep. And I was gonna say they were clinched before this, I believe, as well, after last week. If I
they
recall
were
correctly. Yeah. So Packers will be there in January and February, or probably February as well. Yeah, I love the way that for the NFC North, the end of this season's playing out, where you just have all these titanic forces running into each other.
And the Bears.
Yeah, and the Bears.
The Bears were 4-2.
Yeah, I mean, at one point it looked like all 4 teams were going to make the playoffs.
It's really funny too because they had a 3-point loss to the Vikings, a 3-point loss to the Lions, and a 1-point loss to the Packers. Like, where the Packers are right now could have very well been the Bears.
Oh yeah. So,
but no, just what a division, man.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the Bears, though, let's talk about the team that kickstarted the Bears' collapse. What can a fresh face in the owner's box do for an embattled franchise? It can bring hope. Josh Harris completed his majority purpose at the Commanders in 2023, and in just 2 short years, he has transformed a stagnant team and an apathetic fan base into a nation of adoring Commies fans. First-year signal caller Jaden Daniels has breathed life into a team that has been searching for the next great QB since RG3 teased us all with his electric rookie season, as he vanquished fellow rookie QB Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons to clinch their spot in the postseason. In 20 years under their previous owner, the Commanders never surpassed the 10-win threshold. Harris's men have done so in year 2. Onwards to the postseason, comrades. So, just to look it up, by the way, this is the first 11-win season for the Commanders since before the Daniel Snyder era. They had 8 11-plus loss seasons under him. So,
good God.
Yeah.
I just see exactly what season that was. Okay, their last 11-win season was when they went 14-2 and won the Super Bowl in 1991.
That was a pretty special team.
Which was, I think, the second to last year of Joe Gibbs for the first time. This is 3 decades in the making for this team.
That 91 Redskins team is also one of the most forgotten juggernauts of all time. That team, yeah. If you ever look at where they ranked and everything, they were unreal. Dude, there's just a magic around Jaden Daniels because I feel like every play, every game comes down to him making some miracle play. Um, because they get into overtime and there's just no question about it. 75 yards right down the field, use almost all the time. No worries. We're winning this thing and going to the playoffs.
Yeah, they did all of this despite Terry McLaurin being held to a single catch for 5 yards.
Yeah.
Like,
He is
Zach
the real
Ertz
deal.
and Olamide Zaccheaus, the unsung heroes of this game that helped them get it done.
Yeah. And I mean, they win into half down 17-7. And I mean, just out of halftime, no questions. 2 straight touchdown drives. Or sorry, 2 straight touchdown drives and a field goal. But to not take anything away from Michael Penix, that dude has so much potential. Because obviously the Commanders are going to the playoffs. This loss knocks the Falcons out of the lead of the NFC South. With a win here, they control their own destiny. All they have to do is match the Bucs for the rest of the season. Instead, now they need help.
Now they need them to lose.
But like this team, when Kirk Cousins was the quarterback, I watched them and I was like, this team has wild card loss written all over them. Right? They're good enough to get there. They're not competing with anybody. Penix, there's a little something. There's a little juice there. That dude has like just a gun. And his stats aren't beautiful, but like those last 2 drives, the touchdown on I think 4th down. Yeah, 4th and 13 to Kyle Pitts.
That was beautiful.
Unreal.
I want to briefly, before we talk about the second one, the play that set up that 4th and 13. Why the fuck are you thinking direct snap to Bijan Robinson in that situation?
Yeah. Well, so the worst part about that too is they have a like new center, and when you look at the height of where he snaps the ball, like for somebody like Penix who's 6 foot plus, perfect height for him.
Not for
Bijan
Bijan.
Robinson. Yeah, Bijan's not quarterback height, and it goes right over his head. Yeah, so that was almost a disaster. Which the best part too was like Bijan's left-handed, and he was rolling out to the left. He could have thrown that away and preserved their field position, but he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But
and the killer missed field goal at the end by Riley Patterson, and it was almost, it had the aim, it just was just short.
Yeah, and I remember too, Tarico was mentioning that Patterson had a rough day in warm-ups before the game, and it would have been 56 yards to win. Instead, it comes up short, and they never even get to touch the ball in the overtime. But, God, just watching this, I love when you get these matchups between like rookie quarterbacks, and you're like, this is what the future is going to look like, and this is awesome.
Absolutely.
Because like I was a big fan of Penix coming out of college. Like I watched most of the playoff last year. I think it was Texas that they played in the first round.
Texas game, yeah, he dotted them up all over the place.
He had some just unbelievable throws in that game that I was like, holy shit, this guy. and so like I was all about him coming out of high school or coming out of college. And then the Falcons took him, and I was like, that's a weird pick. But I've seen some people kind of doubt him before he got in the lineup. And a lot like Bo Nix, he's got a ton of experience in college, so he's battle tested already. And I like just watching this game, I was like, this guy is gonna be awesome.
Tell you what, the connection between him and Drake London already looks really good and really fun.
Oh yeah. And I mean,
Drake
he got
London's
Kyle Pitts
got 1,000 yards on the year now.
I think Kyle Pitts, dropped what would have been his first career touchdown last week and turned it into an interception, and then this week dialed him up for just a beautiful throw. Yeah, what a friggin' awesome game, man. Like both these guys are so fun. It's a shame that like we're more than likely not gonna get like both of these teams and the Bucs in the playoffs, because I feel like all 3 of them are super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Commies rolling on. Can't believe it. Our team's going to the playoffs.
Hell yeah. And an 11-win season, 3 decades in the making.
Yeah. And then finally, Monday night, another season that's been decades in the making. as the Lions traveled to the Bay Area.
Dan Gamble and the injury-riddled Lions went to San Francisco, hoping to avenge their narrow NFC Championship game loss just a year ago. But the 49ers, despite being eliminated, did not go quietly, as Brock Purdy put together arguably his best game on the year. The problem? He still had 2 ugly arm punts, both of which set Detroit up nicely to capitalize and score. When the dust settled, Purdy left the game with injury, and the Lions survived, setting up a winner-take-all divisional clash in the last week between 14-2 powerhouses, which for how weird of a regular season this has been, will be a fantastic way to end it. Lions 40, 49ers 34.
Yeah,
So, they were the 6th team to score 40 points this week.
it's so funny to look at the list of teams too, because it's all like powerhouses and then the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny also to go through the 49ers drive summaries, because the only times they were stopped were a missed field goal, an interception, a missed field goal, and an interception.
Yet this was the first NFL game since 1937 with 10 or more touchdowns and 0 punts.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this was a legitimately insane game to watch.
We got a Josh Dobbs touchdown.
Yeah.
I might have to remake the theme song that I made for him to be about the 49ers instead of the Vikings.
Yeah, this was the breakout game for Ricky Pearsall that I think a lot of people have been waiting for.
Oh, yeah. He and Kittle both had huge nights. I mean, I'm a little concerned about the Lions defense. I won't lie.
I mean, how could you not be? They're just banged up everywhere.
But I have just such unwavering support for Dan Campbell that it's like, I mean, this was the prime example where it was like, oh, our defense isn't doing anything. It's fine. Jared's got this.
Yeah.
We'll get one stop and he'll go right down and take advantage of it.
Another great game from him. I mean, he's got 36 touchdowns on the year now. For a guy that was like when that trade happened between him and Stafford trade, it was like, oh well, Jared Goff's only going to the Lions because the Rams have to trade him now. But it's like, I don't think anybody saw this coming at all.
No.
Like when that trade happened, and then the way the 2021 Lions season went, it was like, all right, this is just going to be another chapter in the era of just utter shit that the Lions have had to deal with. And now, 3 years later, they've set like probably 13 or 15, however many different franchise records, and they've got a number 1 seed on the line in a couple days.
He is 2 yards away from his 3rd consecutive 4,400 yard passing season.
I wonder if this he might have a chance to pass Stafford. I think I don't know how many yards he got in his best year, but
I know Stafford did crack 5,000 once.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I mean, still an all-time quarterback season for the team, which again, I don't think anyone saw this coming a while ago.
No. Yeah, but I mean, even then, with their defensive struggles, Kirby Joseph 2 picks off Brock Purdy twice. They cash both of those in for touchdowns. I have some concerns about what they're gonna do on defense, but man, if you're dropping 40 every week, it doesn't really matter.
It's the same. It's the same vibe as the Bills.
Yeah.
So it was very fitting that the two of them played each other, and that game went exactly that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, this is a Super Bowl year, because obviously things could go poorly, but this has been such a magical year for the Lions, and it is crazy to me that it's like the Lions are the offensive juggernaut that are just seemingly unstoppable, man. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they have scored 34 or more points each of the last 4 games.
That is such a ridiculous number.
And on top of 2 50 burgers and then 2 other 40 burgers earlier in the year.
Oh my god.
They have 533 points scored this year.
Like I was saying, this might be the best offense I've ever seen. It's up there with the 07 Patriots in terms of just passing the eye test.
Yeah. Or the 2013 Broncos for me.
Yeah, that's another good one. One of I think one of the biggest takeaways from this though is Brock Purdy's wrist injury. Because
he's already been ruled out this week.
Yeah, and he's getting paid this offseason. His contract's basically up. So
I think they have the 4th-year option on it.
So it's a 4-year one, but I believe first rounders don't have the 5th-year option tacked on. So like if the 49ers are going to keep him, they're going to sign him this year because otherwise he hits the open market after next year.
It's a tiny bit concerning though because this is the same elbow he injured in 2022 against the Eagles.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing is it's like, what if it's, like a Liz Frank thing and he could never be the same again. So
like it's got the same vibe as like when a pitcher has to go under Tommy John a second time and it's like you don't know if they're ever going to come
that's
back
what I meant,
the
not
same
Liz
again.
Frank. Yep.
Yeah, like the UCL.
Yeah.
Like it's a less common thing in quarterbacks, but like it does happen every so often. So I hope that's not the case, but again, anytime a pitcher undergoes Tommy John, you never know how that's going to go, and I'm getting a similar vibe here.
Yeah.
So
a lot of question marks for the 49ers on what's been a pretty disappointing year.
Did not have them chalked up for 6-10 at all.
Is Josh Dobbs
6 of their last 7. They have free falled in the second half.
Yeah.
Like they had gotten it together. They got to 5-5 after the Tampa game, and since then it has been ugly.
Yeah. Do we know if Josh Dobbs is starting next week?
I would think so, since Purdy's out.
Love me some Josh Dobbs, bald king.
Hell yeah.
And that was week 17. Goddamn.
Yeah.
What a weird week. So I guess playoffs are almost entirely set. Like we mentioned,
Almost.
the Bucks control the 4th seed right now. They're winning in. Broncos, they're at 7th seed in the AFC. They're winning in. Both of them are in a situation where if they lose, if the next team up wins, they're in, which would be Dolphins and Falcons respectively. And if the Dolphins lose, the Bengals can jump in as well. There's a little bit of other seeding going on, but for the most part, everything's pretty much set in stone. So
yeah, that then the winner of Vikings Lions is the 1 seed and gets the North title, and the loser is the 5 seed.
Yeah, which first time in NFL history, 2 14-win teams have met in the regular season. It's only happened, I think, 5 times previously, and all of them have been conference title games or Super Bowls.
And then, of course, the Patriots clinch the number 1 pick if they lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Yay!
Yeah. So let's head over to the dues. Wait, no, I already said that. For the dues, yeah, whatever.
Well, a lot of these injuries are more like guys that were playing through stuff got shut down once there was nothing more to play for. One of them was CeeDee Lamb, who the Cowboys shut down before this past weekend and will also be out this weekend. Dre Greenlaw had that happen with him as well. No point in him playing again and risking re-injury. Brock Purdy's injury is fresh. He's out this weekend already. Kenneth Walker was put on IR since the Seahawks no longer have anything to play for. The Bucks put their safety Christian Eisen on IR. That's kind of a big deal. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
The Panthers put Chuba Hubbard on IR with the injury he suffered 2 weeks ago. The Bengals put Sheldon Rankins on the reserve non-football injury list. I don't know exactly what that is, but hopefully it's not serious. Yeah. And the Browns put Shelby Harris, Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, and David Njoku on IR. So they're going to have, Bailey Zappi's going to have, nobody to throw the ball to or hand it off to this weekend. That one might be ugly. The Packers lost 2 big pieces for the season, though. Jordan Morgan with a shoulder injury, and Jair Alexander underwent knee surgery, and the only chance he has to come back is if they reach the Super Bowl. So, big loss in the secondary. The Patriots put Marcus Jones on IR, so he is done for the year. Jalen Ford for the Saints broke his fibula against the Raiders. Hopefully that's not a long-term thing, but he'll be out. And Derek Carr has been ruled out already as well, so another week of Spencer Rattler to end their year. The Chargers also lost Elijah Molden to the year. He broke his fibula against the Pats. The Eagles put Britton Covey on IR with a neck injury. The Cardinals put James Conner on IR. I don't even know why they had him suit up this past weekend. He was clearly not 100% to begin with.
Yeah.
And they got him hurt again. That was stupid. And the Dolphins, of course, Tua was out this past weekend, and he's doubtful again this weekend. So they've got Tyler Huntley on the line against the Jets, with still slim playoff hopes alive. The Commies cut their 2022 second-round pick, Fedarian Mathis, and he was claimed off waivers by the Jets. My condolences to him having to go play for the Jets.
Why are the Jets making waiver claims in Week 18?
Yeah, who cares?
What are we doing?
What are you doing? The Dolphins, who had signed Shaq Barrett in the offseason, who then promptly retired, he decided to unretire a couple weeks ago, and the Dolphins cut him, and he decided to go back to the Bucs, where he spent his first X amount of years of his career. So
Damn.
I think he'll be active this weekend too.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. Teddy Bridgewater retired this past offseason, became the head coach at his alma mater, Miami Northwestern Senior High School, promptly led them to the state championship, and then he unretired and signed with the Lions again.
This is so awesome.
So, led his own high school to their first ever state title, and now he's going to back up Jared Goff for a potential Super Bowl run. Good for him.
He had to go do side quests real quick.
Yeah. And the Cowboys cut Ezekiel Elliott. So, yeah.
Jerry Jones is saying, he was like, yeah, it's, because he wants to go join a contender to try to win a Super Bowl. And
Nobody's signing him.
Yeah.
He's not good anymore.
Zeke, Cowboys legend, fucking washed. Maybe he'll be signed as oh shit, our backup got hurt. All right, let's put Zeke as our fourth stringer.
Like when Dalvin Cook signed with the Ravens last year.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Another former NFL player was hired to coach an HBCU, as it was Michael Vick at Norfolk State last week. This week, it is Deshaun Jackson coaching Delaware State now. I don't know how this trend started, but I love it. This shit's awesome.
It's like when you're in a Madden franchise and you see your retired players start getting coordinator jobs, and you're like, hey, wait a second.
And then sad news that came out last week as well. Longtime CBS announcer Greg Gumbel passed away, also known for the March Madness coverage he had for a very long time. That one sucks.
Yep. Rest in peace to a legend. Also, barrier breaker. He was the first black announcer to call a major North American sports championship. And don't look up the year that was, because it's way too recent. So
yeah. The rest in peace to a real one, though. For sure.
Lots of great moments in his career.
Mentioned earlier the contract restructuring for Deshaun Watson. I think there was some void years added to the end of that, and some other weird finicky bullshit that I don't remember and I don't care enough to say. So, with how injury riddled the Lions have been, it sounds like they're going to get Alex Anzalone back. Maybe not just for the playoffs, but maybe even this weekend. Which, not even 6 weeks after breaking his arm, is insane.
Yeah.
For the viewers that might not know, I broke my elbow back in May. And it wasn't even a full break, it was a fracture. And it took about 10 weeks for it to stop hurting. And this dude, fully broke his forearm, and he's going to come back and play football again. Fully padded contact football in under 2 months.
Dude, I had that crash at Lemoore, on the paved BMX track, just probably 10 months. No, probably 9 months ago. And my ribs still kind of hurt sometimes. I still don't feel like I'm fully at 100% from that.
He is tough as nails.
Just nuts.
And then obviously the Jets are talking to Mike Vrabel potentially about their head coach vacancy, but they also plan to interview Ron Rivera, who was with the Commies up until last year, and also get this, because time is a flat circle, they're also going to interview Rex Ryan.
So that is objectively the funniest outcome.
It absolutely is.
Rex
Ryan coaching Aaron Rodgers on the Jets.
Yeah. I did hear a more generous take on what that could be, which is they might be interviewing the two of them for their defensive coordinator position, and they're going to hire a first-time offensive guy. Which would be the smart thing, which means the Jets won't do it.
I'm going to say, I'm thinking I think Ben Johnson is going to have a lot of head coaching looks this offseason, and I think if the Jets end up drafting a quarterback, that could be a good move for them.
Yeah, you put Ben Johnson in charge of, whoever the top one is, with Rex Ryan coaching the defense, that's a good setup.
Either way, though, Rex Ryan going back to the Giants or the Jets is just would be so goddamn funny for so many different reasons, especially if it goes
man.
poorly again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God.
Time
Just
is a flat circle.
yep. Love to see
And
it.
then the new year has a lot of momentous football occasions. So instead of it on this day, it is this week in the history of football. December 31st, 1967, the Ice Bowl,
Oh yeah.
which
Maybe the. I was gonna say a legendary game. Maybe the gutsiest call of all time. Also.
yeah,
So
and also NFL championship games should be played in the elements. I don't give a fuck.
yeah.
I don't care if they want more people there. I don't care if they want more pure football. We need Super Bowls that are played in the elements because that is when, you really get to see who can brave it all and be the best.
Oh yeah.
Also on New Year's Eve in 1972, the Dolphins defeated the Steelers to continue their undefeated run and make it to the Super Bowl, which of course they then did and won.
Still the crazy thing about that game is A, the Steelers were hosting, and B, that they were the favorites.
Yeah, for an
So.
undefeated team.
Yeah.
And then also involved in the Steelers, New Year's Eve in 2017, the Browns lost to complete the second 0-16 season ever.
Oh man, the image of Corey Coleman dropping a wide
Man.
open fourth down pass to keep that final drive alive, and then the shot of like him with his head in his hands and like the Steelers defender like tapping him on the helmet, like, come on, man, get up. Like,
Do you think we'll ever see an 0-17 season?
I mean, it's got to happen eventually at some point. I mean, we've gotten 2 0-16 years. We had an 0-14 year. Like,
Yeah,
somebody will
maybe.
crater that badly.
Hope it's not the Pats. And then New Year's Day in 1902, Michigan beat Stanford in the very first Rose Bowl. And on New Year's Day in 1935, the first Sugar and Orange Bowls happened, which the Orange Bowl was won by Bucknell because fuck you. And yeah.
Nothing bad happened in the Rose Bowl on January 1st this year, right?
No, not at all. Rip Oregon, man. Good
Dude,
Lord.
I watched that game in a sports bar full of Oregon fans, and like, I haven't really, like, everyone knows I don't really follow college football very closely, but I knew they were undefeated, and I was just like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, not only were they undefeated, they'd already beaten Ohio State this year.
Yeah,
And that still happened.
that was ridiculous.
But yeah. January 3rd, 1993, the Bills defeated the Oilers in the largest comeback in the history of the NFL, which pretty much broke the Oilers franchise at that point.
I was going to say, basically led to them packing up and moving to Nashville like 6 years later. So,
which, I want to make a quick tangent about that. The Titans are wearing Oilers uniforms this weekend against the Texans. To me, there's just something like really distasteful about that. Like, yeah. I like when some teams honor their old history. Like when the Hurricanes brought out the Whalers uniforms against the Bruins, I thought that was cool. Yeah. But this one feels different in a very icky way.
Well, I think, yeah, the thing that feels gross about it was like Houston was football crazy and still is, and like they were never struggling to sell out the Astrodome. Like, I know with like the Whalers, they always played second fiddle to the Bruins in that market.
Right.
And obviously there's people in Hartford who are still upset about it. There's a lot of people who are still upset about it, but it's
Hartford. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But maybe not.
Yeah. That like, it was a very bitter move when they did pack up and leave, especially because Bud Adams basically called it years ahead of time. That he was like, oh yeah, if we don't win a Super Bowl, I'm gutting this team. And then he did, and then was like, oh, okay, well, we're not selling out, so we're moving. And it was like, well, they're fucking not selling out because you built a shitty football team. But yeah, and then it would be like the Ravens wearing Browns throwbacks, right?
Yeah. Just
don't do it.
But also against the Texans. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
really?
And the fact that they do it against the Texans every year is ridiculous. Especially because they like actively prevent the Texans or anybody else from wearing anything reminiscent of the
Yeah,
Oilers.
the University of Houston was going to do it last year, and the NFL was like, yeah. So
it's just ridiculous.
Like, what they should have done there, and again, long tangent, but whatever. Like, when the Ravens became a thing, they were considered an expansion team, and when the Browns were reactivated, they kept all their history. The Titans should have been considered an expansion team, and the Texans should have been able to just pick up where the Oilers left off.
Yeah. Well, a big part of that too was they did that with the Browns because of how poorly done the Tennessee relocation was.
I think the Browns would happen first.
Well, no, I think I'm pretty sure. Did they really?
I think the Browns moved in '95, and the Ravens, I think, or the Titans moved in '97.
Hang on. Well, no, because '95 was the last year in Cleveland,
and I think '96 was the last year in Houston. Like they were both very close together.
Oh no, they were both the same year. Yeah, it's weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the NFL just felt a tighter connection to the Browns because they were an original NFL team. So
I don't know. Again, just kind of too bad. I hope someday the Texans, like, they can work out a thing with that where the Texans can finally do it, because, like, I think the city of Houston deserves that.
Yeah, I mean they've been like the Love You Blue Oilers. They were diehard fans the whole time. So
Some of my favorite branding of any sports team ever.
Oh yeah.
Genuinely. And then lastly, January 3rd of 2007, Nick Saban left the Dolphins to go and coach Alabama. No significance there whatsoever.
Yeah, did he ever do anything there?
Yeah, no, not at all.
All right. Well, that was the dues and this week in football. We're not doing Dunyan Rings because there's so few teams left. We didn't even do it last week.
Well, the Panthers lost, so you have to put them on there again.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay. I was about to be like, how many times are on there? It's how many losses they have. That's how many.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just get into pick they thems. Starting with a Saturday AFC North doubleheader. And it kicks off Browns at Ravens. Ravens clinch the AFC North with a win. Steven has picked the Ravens. I will also be taking the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm locking the Ravens. There's there's no way. Like, yeah. I know the Browns beat them the first time, but, like, Jameis isn't playing, Njoku isn't playing, Chubb is out, Ford is out, Bailey Zappe's starting for them, and the Ravens have a division to play for. No.
Also, I just went to put in Steven's lock and remembered that he preemptively locked the Chiefs a few weeks ago, so I'll message him after this and see if he still wants to stick with that.
And we talked about it briefly before the show, but the Ravens are currently favored by 17.5 points in this game. When the Browns went 0-16, they were not favored by, or they were not an underdog by more than 13.5.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this one could be really ugly.
Yep. And then the second game on Saturday is Bengals at Steelers. Absolute must-win game for the Bengals if they want to stay alive in the playoff hunt. For the Steelers, they need to win if they want to take advantage of a potential Ravens loss. I don't see it happening. I will be taking the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bengals here as well. The Steelers are on a slide, and the Bengals are hot. I think this lines up well for Cincy to win, no matter what happens in the Broncos game.
Yeah, Steven took the Steelers as well. Then we kick off the Sunday slate. Panthers at Falcons in a must-win game for the Falcons. They need help to get into the playoffs. Steven took the Falcons as I can't remember if I mentioned he took the Steelers as well. I'm tempted to take the Panthers as a spoiler, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Falcons are going to pull it off.
I was also tempted to do that, but I'm going to go the Falcons sweep here.
Yeah.
They've had their moments, but I think the Falcons know how desperate they are, and I think they'll figure it out and get it done.
Yeah. Then we get the Commanders at Cowboys. Commies are in a spot where they're locked in, but if they win and the Packers lose, I believe they move up to the 6th seed.
They do.
And
if I'm the Commanders, I would rather play the Rams than the Eagles in the wild card round.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take our team here.
Yeah, I will also be taking the Commanders. Steven took them as well. I think the Cowboys are, dead men walking at this point.
I think they're going to play Trey Lance more this weekend, which I guess
I mean,
I
might
had
as
a
well.
prophecy there. Yeah.
So if it goes poorly, you get a better draft pick. So
Yeah.
then we also have Bears at Packers. Bears trying to end a 10-game winless streak. Packers need to win to keep the 6th seed. I'm gonna take the Packers. I'm considering locking the Packers.
So was I, but I think the Ravens one was more of a layup. But the Packers
Yeah.
are still winning this game by, I think, at least double digits.
Yeah. And Steven took the Packers as well. Then we get the Jaguars visiting the Colts. Who cares?
Yeah, the Colts are eliminated. This one does not matter at all anymore.
No.
I'm gonna take the Colts anyway, though.
Steven's also gonna take the Colts. I'm gonna pick a tie. Fuck it.
Why not?
It's my last chance to pick one this season. It feels like it. Who cares? Bills at Patriots, a game also of literally zero consequences for the Bills. If the Patriots lose, they clinch the first overall pick.
Yeah, the Bills are locked into the 2 seed, so it sounds like Josh Allen's going to play like a series at the most.
Yeah, to keep it. He has the longest consecutive start streak in the league going right now, and he wants to keep that going.
Yet Drake May is listed as questionable, but I don't. You know who I'm picking, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of rooting for a loss here. I got to be honest.
Yeah, Steven will also take the Bills. Yeah, fuck it. I'm locking the Bills. I've only done it like once this season.
I mean, they played them. They lost by 3 on the road when all the starters were in. I mean, if they're gonna rest all the guys, I think the Pats could legit win this game. But like I said, with the number 1 pick on the line, I kind of hope they don't.
Yeah.
Because in an ideal world, I hope they get the pick and then trade it for a bunch of other picks and still get the guy they want, like the Bears did. But just do that better.
Yeah. Giants visit the Eagles. Nothing on the line for the Eagles, I believe.
They're resting a lot of guys.
Yeah, they're resting everybody. Otherwise, we would be potentially seeing Saquon go for the all-time record.
And for that reason, I'm picking the Giants.
I thought about it. I'm going to stick with the Eagles, though.
I mean, with how they just played this weekend against the Colts starters, I think Drew Lock could have a similar performance against the Eagles backups.
Yeah,
maybe not to that level, but I think it could be a winning performance.
Yeah,
so I'm picking the Giants to further fuck themselves out of the number 1 pick.
Steven took the Giants as well.
Because the best part too is even if the Patriots win, if the Giants, Titans, Browns, and Jaguars all also win, they still get the number 1 pick.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Then we get Saints at Bucks. It's a simple game for the Buccaneers. Win and in. They can also get in.
Rattler again.
Yeah, they can also get in if the Falcons lose and they lose or tie. So, I believe they play at the same time as well. So
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Bucks here.
Yeah, I will also be taking the Buccaneers. I think they're going to take care of business. So.
I think Kamara's out again too, so the Saints are going to be down pretty much all of their top weapons again. Good luck.
Yeah. Steven took the Bucks as well. Texans at Titans, as we mentioned. Steven's taking the Texans. I think this is a shape-up game for the Texans. I think they're going to dial up everything they have to try to destroy the Titans going into the playoffs to get some momentum going. Because
I'm picking the Titans because the Texans are locked into the 4 seed, and I think they're going to be resting some players.
Can they not? Oh, they can't get up to the 3, can they?
No, because the Ravens have the tiebreaker over them already.
Oh, true. Okay, so you are taking the Titans then.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be resting players, so I'm going Tennessee here.
Yeah. I was going to say, this could be the 2022 Chargers disaster game where they're like, we want to win to get some momentum going, and then they lose an important player.
Yeah.
Yeah. 49ers at Cardinals, another game that just doesn't matter. Steven
Josh
Cardinals
Dobbs versus Kyler Murray. I'm picking the Cardinals.
Oh yeah, Josh Dobbs revenge game. Give me the 49ers.
Oh god, true. I didn't even think of that. I'm still picking the Cardinals.
Yeah. Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs are resting their starters. Carson Wentz is under center for the first time since, ironically, Week 18 last year. when he started for the Rams. Broncos, very simple, win and in. If they lose, they need some help.
If they lose to the Chiefs backups, man, shades of a Josh McDaniels collapse. I'm picking the Broncos because they're still like they barely lost the first time, and without Mahomes and Kelsey and all like basically the entire offensive line not playing, I think this bodes well for the Broncos to actually get it done this time.
So for reference, I think it was 3 weeks ago, Steven preemptively locked the Chiefs in week 18. And I had that on the sheet. He's then just told me he's locking the Chargers, and I was going to ask him, but he didn't even pick the Chiefs this week, so I'm going to switch his lock as well when we get there. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Fuck it. I can't. I need to just accept that they're going to win the Super Bowl, and it starts now. So.
Well, I also just don't want them tying the Patriots record for wins in a year. So I hope they lose.
That's true. That's fair. Seahawks at Rams, a game that almost had pretty awesome playoff ramifications, and then somehow the strength of victory tiebreaker even went the Rams' way with the Commies win on Sunday night. So this game does not matter, although if the Rams win, they maintain the 3 seed. If they lose and the Bucks win, they fall down a spot. So still some reason to try. They are resting Matt Stafford this week, though.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Jimmy Garoppolo start again this weekend.
And for that reason, I'm picking
the Seahawks.
I'm gonna take the Rams.
I think they're gonna be down. I think Kupp and Nakua aren't playing too, and Kyron Williams I think is also resting.
Oh,
they're gonna be down like their entire like offensive just dudes.
Damn it! This game feels like a tie as well.
It does.
I think I'm gonna stick with the Rams, but yeah. Chargers at Raiders. Steven has locked the Chargers. I do not blame him for that one. I will also be taking the Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers sweep.
Even if it's their backups, because again, I'm pretty sure locked into their playoff seed.
Nobody lets the Las Vegas Raiders win 3 games in a row.
No. Although I know, wait, the Chargers, if they win, they can jump up to the 5 seed. With the Steelers' loss, so
yeah, decent ramifications from this game, just a little bit.
I mean, makes a big difference. I'd rather go to Houston than play the Ravens. So
I think Ravens already beat the Chargers this year.
Ravens Steelers playoff game, wild card round.
Ooh, that would go hard.
That's spicy.
I think Steven would be scared, but it would be hard.
Yeah. And then Dolphins Jets. Simple situation. If the Broncos lose during the same time window, Dolphins win, gets them into the playoffs. I already picked the Chiefs, which means I'm also going to be taking the Dolphins because the Dolphins getting in is the objective worst, like most boring option to happen, which means it's going to happen. So,
well, it sounds like Tua is not going to play, so this is going to be Tyler Huntley starting again with a potential playoff spot on the line. He did decent this past weekend, and the Jets aren't trying anymore, so I'm picking the Dolphins anyway.
Yeah. Just imagine that you're Joe Burrow and you've put together this insane season. You're going to go into Pittsburgh, beat the hell out of the Steelers, and then you have to sit down and root for the Jets to continue your season. So
just extend their suffering.
Yeah. And then Steven also took the Dolphins. So it's Dolphins across the board. And then finally, Sunday night, game of the century. Vikings, Lions, winner wins the NFC North and the number 1 seed and the first round bye. Loser goes on the road to play either Tampa, Atlanta, or LA. What a game.
This has a similar vibe to when the undefeated Patriots played the undefeated Colts in 2007.
Yeah.
Just 2 almost unstoppable teams with prolific offenses and pretty solid defenses going at it to prove who the absolute best team in the NFL is. You couldn't ask for a better end to the regular season than this game.
I'm gonna be taking the Lions. I've been ride or die with them. Although the Vikings are my best picked team, or my most picked team. I picked them 16 times. I picked the Lions 15. I'm gonna stick with the Lions though. I think they're gonna get it done.
The Lions won round 1, and they're at home for this one. So this is so evenly balanced. I'm picking the Lions literally just because they're at home. Like, that is the only reasoning I have, because both of these teams, again, they're just so good. They played each other so well the first time. Like, probably the two most evenly matched teams of anybody in the NFL. Go home, team. That's all I got.
I mean, I was gonna say the only other regular season finale I can think of that was close to being this good was Raiders Chargers a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And that was just because every single thing fell in the way where it was like this stupidly specific scenario could happen. And then it almost did.
Looking back,
even then,
I wish that tie had happened sometimes.
Yeah. And even ignoring if the potential of the tie could happen, still an insane game.
Yeah. It's not very often that you get a game where either both teams could make it or one does. Like that. Like that was cool. And so is this.
Yeah. And that was the last Pick Day Thems of the 2024 regular season.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
Already.
I know. I can't believe we're already there.
I only have to watch the Patriots one more time until August. Thank fuck.
I know. I only have to slightly get my hopes up about the Cowboys once more. And then I can just, bandwagon somebody for the rest of the year.
I haven't figured who my bandwagon's going to be still. I haven't made my mind up yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, this has been Oofsides. You can follow us on all the normal places that you know. We'll be back next week to talk about everything from Week 18. Hopefully we get a great Sunday night game and get you ready for the playoffs. Any closing thoughts?
Shout out to Cam Scadaboo. That's my closing thought. That dude is a fucking unit.
Hell yeah. And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.